Welcome back to Blue Rush, our New York Giants podcast for the New York Post. I'm Giants Super Bowl champ Brandon London, a.k.a. Him C, joined by my co-host, Giants longtime beat writer for the New York Post, Paul Schwartz, and of course, our two-time Giants Super Bowl champion kicker, Lawrence Tynes is in the building. The Giants lose 31-16 in Miami to the Dolphins. They fall 1-4 on the season. And that's not looking good because they got to go all the way up to Buffalo next week. They could be 1-5. A lot of bad news coming from this game. I don't even know where to start. Paul, you're down in Fort Lauderdale. Lauderdale, as they say, give us something, man. What are your thoughts on it? And then we'll go from there.
Give you something.
Give me something, Paul. Give me
something from South Beach. I'm not quite at South Beach. Look, you know what? We'll talk about Daniel Jones and the severity of the injury, which we don't know, but a neck is not good. We'll get into that. What I wrote in the Post for Monday's paper is, the NFL is really unpredictable, isn't it? Buffalo goes out to London and loses to Jacksonville. Every week there's games where you say, man, I didn't see that coming. I didn't see that performance coming. I didn't see that position group doing so well. The Giants are completely the exception to the rule. This game was, to me, textbook. They can't block. Daniel Jones can't get anything done because they can't block. They can't run without Saquon. They can't prevent big plays. I mean, everything we thought likely would happen, happened. 31-16 is a score that you would say, yeah, that sounds about right. You know what I mean? So they're so predictable in a bad way. And, that's a bad way to be, and I think the fans are feeling it. The expectation is we'll go out there, we'll lose. It's bad. It wasn't supposed to be like this in year two of the Shane Daboll regime, but here we are.
Hans, I want to read some numbers off to you and I want to get your reaction. Daniel Jones, 14 for 20, 119. Eric Gray, 12 carries, 25 yards. Darren Waller, 8 for 86. Flip it to the other side. Dolphins, Tua, 22 for 30, 308, 2 TDs, 2 INTs. Devon A-Chain, 11 carries, 151 and a TD. Tyreek Hill, 8 catches, 181 and a touchdown. Are the Giants, were they just overmatched?
Yeah, they're just not good enough. I mean, that guy's going to have a new nickname, Devon off the A-Chain. Yeah. But Ching. Hey, Paul, good to see you. Hope you're enjoying Florida. Guys, I'm at a loss for words. I really, I try to come up with reasons why, like as I engage with people on Twitter and I do this show, and I really have no answers for why they came out and ran it again pretty well to start. Some really good chunk plays there with Gray. A holding penalty, of course, brings a big run back. You could call them drops by Waller. He's got to make one of those 2 catches early on in the game. Maybe the one in the end zone was probably easier. Yep. That changes the complexion of the game. But overall, man, it's a very, very bad product. It's actually, it's not enjoyable. It really isn't. My son and I, my 2 sons, we watch the game religiously, and man, we just find ourselves laughing. And that's not a good place to be. Like, we're at the point where we just laugh at things that happen. Obviously not people getting hurt and things like that, but when they give up a 78-yard run and chunk plays and missed, half efforts on tackles and things like that, man, it just, man, that's not my cup of tea. So it is what it is. They're in a bad place, man. This is treading on Joe Judge's second-year territory.
Joe, we're there with it.
It's that bad.
I took a lot of heat on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I was just like, I put out a tweet that says, don't say nothing to me about Miami's total yards on offense. Giants, he was playing their ass off, 3 turnovers on the score. I know Miami had over 500 yards in terms of total offense. But again, another one where the defense tried to do what they could do. I understand there were some bad spots, but you score on defense, 2 turnovers, and we couldn't get points off of that unless the defense put the ball into the end zone. Otherwise, we got two field goals out of it. Guys, it's just, you like you said, you're sitting there laughing. You and your sons were sitting there laughing. You're laughing from crying, It's just one of those things where when your expectations get high on this team, bam, there goes the gut punch. I mean, we're talking at the half. At the half, the score was 17-7. And you're like, you're in the game with the Miami Dolphins, this high-powered offense where Wink Martindale compared to the greatest show on turf. And then the Dolphins come out and score 14 in the third quarter. And it just feels like, boom, that's it. I do not understand why this offense is so inept. Like, why they cannot move the ball, why there can't be any sort of sustainable drives. And it's just, that's what's frustrating to everybody. You go ahead, Paul. Go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, I think you overplayed the defense. You know, I mean, 524 yards. You know what I mean? Tua did not play a great game. You know, they have a great scheme. He throws the ball 7 yards, they get 60. You know, they're not vertical, right? They're horizontal with their passing game. When is the last time you saw a game where one team had forced 3 turnovers and didn't have any turnovers, 3-0 in the turnover giveaway takeaway differential, and got beat soundly? I mean, that doesn't
91%, Paul. I tweeted it out. 91% win rate. Yeah. And the Dolphins were vertical. Just ask Trey Hawkins.
Yeah. Well,
okay. Now let's talk about that play, right?
Okay.
Why
was he on him?
Yeah, I want to take you inside the locker room a little bit because, first of all, I think on that play, Adoree was out, right?
Yep.
That was early in the game. Adoree was out, not because he was cramping up, because a screw on his helmet came loose, his chin strap, okay? So he couldn't be in the game because his chin strap was loose. They said, you got to come out and fix it, okay? So then somebody said, well, could you use somebody else's helmet? He said, no, with my hair, we have the precision helmets. You can't, I understand that. You can't share helmets. So he's out because there's a screw loose on his chin strap. And he said, I thought I'd just be out, a play. And then I see all of a sudden they're all the way down the field. They're already scoring. So now, the team, I'm not saying they're unraveling, but after the game, I was talking to Xavier McKinney, right? And I'm asking him about the big plays. You guys talked all week. We know we have to prevent these chunk plays. I said, why were you not able to do it? And he said to me, look, what we're not doing here is blaming the defense, okay? We lost as a team. And I said, who's blaming the defense? You're a defensive player. I'm asking you about the defense. He said, what are you asking me? I said, well, you guys said you were going to try to prevent these chunk plays. Was it the scheme or was it the execution? Was it just the speed? And he said, well, I don't like that question. You know what I mean? That's not a good question. You know what I mean? Okay. So then on that play, somebody else asked Xavier McKinney on the TV broadcast, they brought up that they were supposed to have safety over the top. Did you see Trey Hawkins kind of did this after the play? He looked like he was looking for some help. So McKinney said, who said that? And he said, I think it was Jonathan Vilma on the broadcast, right? So this is what Xavier McKinney said, okay? Now, Jonathan Vilma played a lot of years in the league, right? This is what McKinney says. No, that's not accurate at all. And then somebody said, that was Jonathan Vilma who said, okay, he don't know what he's talking about then. He don't know football. He don't know coverage, clearly. This team is going in a lot of different places here. They really are. They really are. Poor Josh Azudu, he was in tears at his locker. We're not making fun of that. I'm in the locker room. I'm reporting it. They benched him, right? He had 3 penalties on one series, right? And, he missed a block that got Daniel Jones hurt. Van Ginkel, just basically dove on Daniel's back, right? So he's, McKinney is being kind of defiant on one end, saying, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Josh Azudu is in tears. Kayvon Thibodeau is talking about, I still feel we can win 12 games or whatever he was saying, and he's just trying to figure out, he's just trying to say stuff. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying, Brian Dable goes up there, and I don't know if you guys saw his press conference. He literally had no emotion, none. We have to do better. We have to do better. So whatever he's telling his players is one thing, but to the fans and to the media, he is a complete flatline, which I don't think is a great look. They have no answers. And now, the quarterback.
What I want to hear and I want to see, and I know yelling doesn't fix anything, but one of these linemen has to say, hey, media, come talk to me. I'm going to show the emotion. I'm going to show the grit and determination that it's not okay to get your quarterback hit this much. It's not okay when your quarterback's laying on the ground being taken out of a game because of his neck. Somebody needs to stand up and do that. I don't know who it is. Is it Evan Neal? It could be Evan Neal. I don't care who it is. It's just got to be somebody to say, look, well, this is not good enough. You know, I know they say that individually, but after a game like this, and quite frankly, 4 of them this year, someone has to speak up and do some bravado or something, just to show that you care, because we get a lot of I don't care vibes from this team. And
I want to ask both you guys this, okay? Because I asked Kayvon Thibodeau directly, what is this an angry locker room? Okay. And he said, I wouldn't call it angry. I'd call it passionate and strong-willed. So let me ask you two guys who played. Is anger appropriate? And, you know, should we, like Lawrence, you kind of said we should be seeing that. You know, sometimes you say, we want to see anger. You know, okay, I don't know what that does, but I don't see anybody who says, you know, okay, this is unacceptable. This has to change. You know, Dexter Lawrence, last week said, you know, I'm not afraid to hurt feelings. You know, I don't know where that went. I don't know where that went at all. You know, so do we need anger? You know, do we need anger from players?
Yeah. I mean, you have to be outright pissed off about this product and what you're putting on the field. Don't tell me you don't care what the fans think. You have to. Like, you want to be able to go out and have fans say, hello, how are you doing? Great game, things like that. I mean, you're a staple of that community. And like, you don't go anywhere right now. I'm sure they don't. Defense, Brandon, I'll say they didn't have they had a good first half, but again, they're on the field too much. We can't sustain drives. The turnovers I loved, but again, 520 yards is not, you know, good enough in this league. 31 points is not good enough in this league.
We're talking about the greatest show on turf, like you said. Like if they
520 yards.
If they go and they score off the other 2 turnovers, that's 21 points. We're talking about something completely different.
Brandon, they gave up 3 plays.
You can't fight 7 with 3. You cannot fight 7 with 3.
They gave up 3 plays of more than 60 yards. You know what I mean? I mean, it's. I know.
I don't think even one defensive player would say they play well.
I'm not saying that I'm not crowning them the best.
That's just the least of of everything that's gone on. I feel it's like the least thing we could probably comment on it, because they got 3 turnovers. They did do some things well, but yes, but that's where we are right now, right? It's like, what do you talk about?
Their offense can't function. Their offense cannot function. And you're right, Brandon. Look, I'm not going to say the defense can't function. I'm not saying they gave up a ton of yards and some massive plays. They made some big plays, yes. And I'll tell you one thing, just as a takeaway on the side, if I'm the Dolphins and I'm a Dolphin fan and I'm the AFC, I mean, the Dolphins are really good, but, you know, I don't think Tua had a great game. And, you know, if you challenge him in certain ways and you make him throw the ball down the field, I mean, he was throwing the ball up for grabs a lot today. You know, he really was. But that's a Miami and a Dolphin situation. You know, the Giants should have those problems where, you know, they got over 500 yards and someone's complaining about the quarterback. They cannot function. You know, I mean, look, they have injuries. Andrew Thomas isn't there. You know, Bredesen has to go off for a play. You know, Golowinski is in there just because they have nobody else.
Baker Mayfield's little brother played today.
But basically, and I'm not trying to I'm not the attorney for the defense. Basically, what y'all are saying is y'all wanted this defense to hold the greatest show on turf 2023 to 17 points. 3 turn. You guys just said the probability or the statistic.
No, I didn't have a number. I picked them to lose. I picked this exact score. I picked them 31-17.
The exact score. Yeah.
So I didn't think they could, but I thought they did some things like to keep them in the game. But again, the offense doesn't have a pulse. Like they had some nice plays to Waller when he was lined up on Eli Apple. They quickly figured out, hey, let's get Apple off of Waller. It's hard to say, man. I played a long time in that league. I have not seen anything so inept. You can go turn on any game on Sunday, and I swear to God, you can turn on any game and see functional offense. And they may be bad teams. Like the Minnesota Vikings are 1-4, just like the Giants. But they're in they lost, but they lost kind of at the gun today, you know, to the Chiefs. Yeah. And then they've lost at the gun here, and they've lost. It's just it's bad. It's really, really bad football, man.
I don't even know how to, you know, I don't even know how to evaluate Daniel Jones today. I mean,
No.
if somebody said to you, "Oh, I didn't see the game. How did Daniel play today?" What would you guys say?
Meh.
Palms up emoji.
Hey, palms
up
palms
emoji.
up. Paul, that's a great question. I don't know what you say, but this is the problem. That's the outside of the second half against the Cardinals. It's the same answer every week because he's on his back. 16 sacks in 2 games.
But he didn't turn the ball over. You know what I'm saying? He didn't, in other games, he's turned the ball over. He's tried to force things. He didn't try to force things. Look, he has to learn how to not absorb these hits. I mean, it's just running and, he has no regard for his body. Now, he said afterwards, he said his neck was fine. And then he said it's sore. There's some pain, it's sore. And he said it's, because obviously he missed the last 6 games in 2021 with this. And he said, I've certainly dealt with a similar issue. And he said, it's tough to say for sure. He had an x-ray. He did not say what the x-ray revealed. He said, we'll know more tomorrow. I'm sure he'll get an MRI. He won't play.
We don't know much about that original injury either.
No, he said he had a proceed, not today, he said.
Right, but we don't know specifically what he had done.
We do not. But look, obviously.
Like, was there hardware put in there? I mean, there's a lot of things, that could have happened, but I'm just speculating. I don't know, but
he was not moving his neck too well, in the press conference at all. He said very little. He is, I mean, the other day, this week, he's saying almost nothing. He's not a great quote anyway. Not that the fans really care about that, but he's gotten worse. I think he is shell shocked. I think he is absolutely.
Man, how can you not be
by getting the money? Expectation and just literally nothing has gone right. And now he's hurt again. Look, it looks like. I think he is completely shell-shocked by this.
I got a question for you guys. If you're his agent, do you tell him to shut it down for a little bit?
100%.
100% shut it down for a little bit.
For like, if it's something similar to what he had, oh yeah.
Don't come back. Don't try.
I wouldn't play behind this offensive line.
Yeah.
I know that's being selfish and self-centered, but you have to be selfish when it comes to your health.
Yeah.
Probably why Saquon hasn't dressed.
So if you're
Saquon, I'm speculating.
If you're Saquon, do you are you in a hurry to get back?
There's different situations here. Daniel is in the first year of a 4-year, $160 million.
Saquon's got a lot of wood to chop, right? He's a free agent in 10 games.
Every game he misses is another game that the next GM is going to say, you missed this many games. You're not reliable. Look, I mean, we saw what Jonathan Taylor just got, right? What did he get? 26 million guaranteed. You know what I mean?
I think it comes out to about 14 a year,
which is 3rd highest in the league, which is good. Saquon was not offered that, but every day we hear Saquon's not going to play. Saquon's doubtful. Saquon's questionable. And I'm thinking to myself, he should have taken the contract. He should have taken
absolutely.
He would have been guaranteed what, $23 million. Now he's guaranteed 11. Oh, by the way, there's $900,000 in incentives, right?
Yeah.
You can't get them, right? You can't get them.
Not touching that.
Well, all the numbers he will have no chance to get, and they're all contingent on the Giants making the playoffs. That was funny money, negotiated by Joe Shane. It was, I would say a 10% chance he was going to see any of that money. He's obviously going to see none of that money. I mean, I'm a little shell shocked too that we are, after 5 games, bemoaning the fact that Saquon, just can't get on the field and they can't block. I mean, how many years have we been doing this podcast? Jake, how many years have we been doing this podcast? 4 years. Okay. How many podcast episodes have we done talking about the offensive line, talking about bad blocking, bad run blocking, bad protection? What, 80% of them, maybe? Right?
I think 1/4 of our guests all time are offensive linemen between Snee and Soyber and O'Hara and Mark Schlereth. And we've just had anyone and everyone that could. I can't, for the life of me, figure it out. Like, I don't know what it is. Are they just picking bad linemen? Because I feel like when they leave here, they go somewhere else and they can play competently.
Yeah.
Well, look at Will Hernandez in Arizona right now. Look at Eric Flowers when
Eric
he
Flowers
left.
had
Different
a
staff,
decent year. Yeah.
different staffs. I mean, Justin Pugh left when
Bobby
it was kind of
Hart.
getting bad. Justin Pugh is now back. Can he bring something to this team in terms of leadership? It looks that way. Would Justin Pugh stand before you guys and give kind of a bravado type speech? I think he would, but I don't think anyone else will. Just based on what we've seen, someone's got to come out and put their what out on the table and say, look, we are going to do something about this. Let everyone know you're thinking that. Say it. If you say it, you can speak it into existence.
I don't think these guys are confident enough to do that. You know what I mean? You have to have someone has to be your ability to say, look, run behind me, man. You behind me. And
but no one has that.
And you know what? The next time someone's going after Daniel, I will sit
on my God
and hold him and throw him to the ground. He's not touching my quarterback. And if I get 10-yard penalties, the coach will either take me out. He's not getting sacked.
This is a little, and this goes back into and I know you shouldn't get into things on social media and Twitter and all that stuff, but when you sure as hell have a good game, guys come out and tweet. Why did they let that Eric Armstead guy just make a comment about their quarterback? That shouldn't. We got players taking shots at players, and it's mostly the Giants, and it's Daniel Jones, and I don't ever see anyone coming to his back. I just fire off a tweet and say, "Shut your mouth" to the guy. I don't care if you're on defense or.
Who grades out good enough to be able to fire back and do that? After that San Francisco game, who would you say played a good enough game or put good enough product to fire back? Because then you go super petty if you're Armstead and it's like, hey, is this you knocked over? Is this you getting the ball knocked?
But he made comments after the Seahawks game is what I'm talking about. Eric Armstead.
Okay. Yeah.
He was like, well, why didn't you play like that against us or hold the ball like that against us? Things like that. Just don't let people take shots at you. Just don't. They're just a target. The Giants are a target for criticism.
They over-evaluating their own players? Okay. Obviously, we've talked about Evan Neal. Did they over-evaluate him? At this point, you have to say yes. Now, Evan Neal's hopefully got a lot longer in his career, but he is not a reliable right tackle now. Andrew Thomas, this group didn't draft. They drafted John Michael Schmitz. He's hurt now. He had a rough start to his rookie year, to his NFL indoctrination, which is to be expected. Okay, fine. They drafted
John Michael Schmitz.
I don't think he was great. I know you're higher than him than I was. I think that a lot of the issues they were having in the middle with the twists were guys compensating for him and things like that. But okay, Marcus McKeithen is a draft pick of theirs, right? You know what I mean? Josh Izudu is a 3rd-round draft pick of theirs. Is it too much to expect for these guys to come in and play competent football? Glowinski, they signed last year for decent money. And now after one game this year, they were like, anybody but Glowinski, anybody. We have to find anybody, anybody. We have to put Marcus McKeithen on the field, who had 2 snaps in his NFL career. We got to start him. You know what I mean? So there's a little bit of musical chairs here. And I understand the left tackle's out. I get that. But you know what? Andrew Thomas can't fill 3 spots. You know what I mean? And I know he makes everybody better if he's an anchor in there. I get that. But, they've missed on a lot of these things. And look, let's not expect Justin Pugh to be any kind of, Justin Pugh is like 290 pounds. He's working himself back into shape. He's got to get acclimated. And he's a guard. He's a guard. He's not a tackle. He's a guard. Josh Izudu is a guard. They wanted him to beat out Ben Bredesen for the starting left guard spot this summer. They wanted him to. They gave him every opportunity. He didn't do it. Bredesen beat him out. Then Izudu has to do emergency left tackle work. And, the poor kid is, I think they may have to sit him down. I think they may have to just put Pert in the game and sit Izudu down because he is too emotional and too, I think he needs a break. I do think he needs a break. And, it's a tough thing to say, but I think he needs a break. This is the NFL, right? This is the NFL. If you're
so we're going to have a timeout for an NFL offensive lineman.
Well, first of all, he's not playing well, so it's not like it's a.
You're not going to get better sitting in the stands.
Well, you got your quarterback hurt. You know what I mean?
That's what's wrong with this current era of player. Well, we're going to give him a seat. We're going to let him sit down. I don't feel sorry for players. I don't feel sorry for players like that. Buckle your shit up and go to work.
Yeah.
But maybe he can't do it right now. Maybe he just can't do it.
You're not going to get better sitting in the clubhouse, Paul.
But he may not
your goddamn chin strap and go to work. Fight down. You got there for a reason. You got to this NFL for a reason. He's lost confidence. That's all.
Yeah,
but you got to go play. Go play. Go play. Sit him. That's the 2023 football world. No, we don't sit. We got to go play.
When they buckle their chin straps, the screw in the chin strap breaks.
Only those come out. They break. Yes.
Come out, and then you have to sit on the side. So that's 20. That's 2023 football. Yeah.
We had that back in our day moment. The back in our day moment right there. It was no, like you said, Tynes, no sitting down. Get up.
You can't.
Go play.
You can't, man. You got to pick yourself up. I know and listen, I appreciate Josh Azudu was emotional. That means a lot to me because I respect that. But man, you're not going to get better by sitting.
Well, I'm not saying he doesn't. He's not asking to be sat down. Now, I'm not saying
but he's being asked to play a very difficult role for this team.
Yes, he is.
I get it. So yeah, if he maybe Andrew comes back next week, then he goes back to guard, then he can have some success. But I appreciate some emotion in the locker room.
All right, really quick, final thoughts. Put a bow on this game. Look ahead just a tad bit because they go to Buffalo, another primetime game, Sunday Night Football. Paul, I'll start with you. Final thoughts on this game, and I see you smiling. You got a flight to catch. Give us something. We'll leave it how we started it.
3:30 wake up call. That's okay. That's okay. Look, the Dolphins were coming off a loss, right? And we're primed to play at home, and took care of the Giants pretty easily. Buffalo was in London coming off a loss. No one saw, here's what I would say about, first of all, the next game quickly is that, Joe Shane and Brian Dable were the toast of the town last year. Now they're going back to Buffalo where they came from, right? And they got to be thinking, what are we bringing with us here? What are we bringing with us? I don't know what they can hang their hat on. And that's why Brian Dable, I think, is so monotone and, so stoic, because I don't know if he knows. I don't know if he knows what to do. I think they're smart coaches. We gave him a lot of credit last year for schemes and smarts, and everything kind of came together, right? And God, is it unraveled quickly. I didn't think they were great, but I did not think it would, I didn't think they would not be non-competitive. They are absolutely, I don't know if lucky is the right word, but they are this close to being 0-5, right?
You sure?
This close to being 0-5. It's not, and they are not at all close to winning another game. So that's pretty bad.
Yeah, John Mara's quote means more now today from the offseason than it did ever, right? You can go from Bono to Bozo in this town.
Yes.
And I mean, you couldn't have said it more perfectly. Like John Mara has obviously lived in this market. He owns the team. But man, we are heading that way. This is a colossal failure as a team. Colossal.
Just like that.
I mean, you can't keep beating a dead horse. I do not have dirt on them yet, but the shovel is in the ground.
Yep.
I'll say that.
And you made a great point when you said, you and your son are sitting there and you're like, I know you're not laughing at them. You're laughing because you're so frustrated. Yeah. I know people who said to me, I am not watching the game today.
I believe it.
I am not watching the game. I have no expectation they will do well, and I don't need that for 3 hours. It is not enjoyable watching the Giants. They're saying, and as much
as people care, it can hurt your health. Like I'm not.
And I don't think that's being a bandwagon. I don't. It's one thing. You don't need to be against them, but I understand what people are saying. It's a nice day. It's a crisp fall day. I don't need 3 hours of this. It bothers me too much. I get it, and that's
because people care.
It got late too darn early here. That's no question about that.
I left when Tyrod Taylor came in.
Yeah.
I was like, this is over. It took my son. We went and kicked some field goals. So he's trying to become a kicker.
There you go. There you go. All right. I guess for me, I would say Joe Shane, Tyrod Taylor, Brian Dable was going back to Buffalo. You remember how Dion said, I'm coming with Louis luggage. I guess those guys are saying they're coming with the ShopRite bag as a carry-on. It's one of those situations now.
They got Jan Sports.
You got Jan Sport backpack. The zippers all broke, that sort of thing, man. It's just right now this team is in shambles. I don't like the quotes you're getting from X. Kayvon Thibodeau is trying to toe the line a little bit from some of the comments he's had. Everyone's angry. Everyone's frustrated, including this fan base. We had a good time with DJ Camelo and Ahmad Bradshaw, today. Those guys kind of we're kind of upbeat, but it's just one of those things going into Buffalo. We don't know what to expect. You heard what we feel. Now I'm very anxious to hear the Scotsman.
And that says cheerio to episode 155 of Blue Rush, our New York Giants podcast from the New York Post. Thanks to Jake Brown and Andrew Harps for producing the show.
Lawrence, this is absolutely disgusting. We're going to have to come up with other topics. We might have to do a show about something else. Do we do it about bagpipes, Scottish culture? What the hell do we talk about? Do we do tea and crumpets and talk about football across the pond in London?
Well, as we say over in Scotland, this is a rubbish product. Absolute shite. Absolute rubbish. The Giants have not played complimentary football. Oh, anyway, off to subscribing to Blue Rush on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your pods. Watch full episodes by subscribing to the New York Post Sports YouTube page. Just follow the Blue Rush playlist. Give us a wee thumbs up and comment below how terrible these bloody Giants are at the moment. For Brandon London and Paul Schwartz, I'm Lawrence Tynes. We return for our Blue Rush preview podcast Thursday as we look ahead to the Giants Sunday matchup against those bloody table-breaking Bills. Thanks for listening to Blue Rush. Cheerio!